G'day, I'm Paul. So it's time for another Raptor ownership update. Thank you for the great feedback on the first one that we did. Today is all about my first service experience plus an issue that has popped up, and hopefully not one that I've caused, but I'll run you through that shortly. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you can find out every single time we chat about my Raptor. But let's get right into this update. Okay, so I've just had my first service. It's like the 3-monthly courtesy inspection, but I did flag, as I mentioned in the last video, the rough idle. They did some update and kind of didn't really make any difference at all, but I'm just taking it as it is because it doesn't seem to affect the way it drives. It still accelerates and all that sort of stuff fine. I've driven down a dirt road, look. I have dirty tyres, which is great. I also used it as a ute for the very first time. My dad got a flat tyre on his bike, so I happened to be nearby. So we stuck the bike in the back, so we did some load hauling type stuff. But today is going to be all about my first service experience and an issue that I'm having. And that's why that's here as well. So I'll run you through that in a sec. So first service experience. I booked it in all online. There were 3 recalls to be done and it was all pretty straightforward. I went to the Ford website, put in my rego and it pulled everything up, told me the recalls that had to be done. They're all software related things. One was headlights, one was lane departure, and one was something else insignificant. And that first service is also them just looking over the car to make sure that everything is working as it should. It was at that service that I flagged the rough idle issue as well. I dropped the car off at 9 a.m. Everything went great. They took all the details they needed. They offered me a loan car as well, but I had cameraman Sean pick me up in his XR8 ute, so we were Ford bros driving back to the office. I was a bit surprised to see that I hadn't heard from the dealer till like 3 or 4 o'clock, and I decided to give them a buzz and go, hey, what's going on with my car? And they said, oh, it's just out on a test drive at the moment. So I don't know what they were doing all day with it, but at about 11 o'clock, they'd reset the computer thing that I had access to on the phone. So obviously something was happening between 11 and 4. So I was a bit surprised it took so long. And then the guy that I spoke to on the phone had no real idea what they had done to the car or what was going on. So we went in, picked up the car, and they just kind of gave me a sheet of paper with what they'd done and no real explanation on the rough idle. They just said customer to monitor. Okay, so just got the car back. I got my vehicle report card. Everything's green, which is good. I'm glad it's only done 1,800 Ks. But I did tell them about the problem with the idle. And it says here, checked and tested, found an update for IPC. Carried out update as required, customer to monitor after service and update. Well, I've driven roughly 10 meters and it is still idling very roughly. Now that brings us on to the problem that I'm having. And this is a bit reminiscent of my 2-year-old, which is the issue that I'm having at the moment. And it whines a little bit. I don't like whining coming from cars, especially if they're not race cars. And it seems to have developed a differential whine. And funny thing is, when we did our big ute mega test, the Raptor that we had first, it developed the exact same noise that this now has right before the Diff started making rattling noises as well, and Ford replaced that vehicle. I've been chasing Ford for answers on what happened to that car, and that was in November last year, and they still haven't been able to produce anything for me, but this is now making the exact same noise. What have I done with it? Pretty much nothing. We shot the video that we did last time, where I did a few hot laps of the proving ground, did 2 donuts in it, and straight after that, it started sort of making this whining sound that has progressively become louder. It's now at like 50, 80 and 110. It's making that whining sound. So what I thought we'd do, I've borrowed a press car, and the whole intention is now we'll go for a bit of a drive at those speeds in the press car, see if it makes any noise. And then what we'll do is go for a drive at the same speeds in my car and see if it makes any noise. That has about 11,000 Ks on it. Mine is 2,000 and something Ks. So let's see how we go. Let's hop in and we'll go for a spin. Okie dokie, so we are on the ride and handling track now in the press Raptor. So this is done, 10,575 Ks. At 50 Ks an hour is when I notice the whine in mine. So 50, 80 and 110. So I'm just gonna accelerate to 50, stay around that for a little bit, go to 80, then 110, and you can just have a listen for yourself. That's 50 Ks an hour, not making any weird sounds at all. And this is exactly how my Raptor used to sound like when I first got it, so it has since developed that whine. I'll bump this up to 80 now so you can see what that sounds like. So here we go. just stay in this speed range for a sec. Again, can't hear anything even if I go on and off the throttle. There's nothing there. Well, get up to 110. There it is there. Yeah. No noises at all. There you go. Press Raptor, perfectly fine. Now let's jump into my Raptor and see if we can capture the difference. Hopefully we can, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it inside the car because it is very, very noticeable. Okay, we are in my Raptor. Now, please don't be alarmed if you see a hairy man in the back seat. That is Sean, and because my daughter's seat is in there, he can't fit on that side. So here we go. So I'm going to get it up to 50 first, and this is where I first started hearing it. So here we go. So you can hear it there at 50 when I'm on the throttle and then braking ever so slightly. So definitely there. So let's get up to 80 now. We'll just get around this first corner on our track. If I go through here at 80, we'll end up upside down somewhere. Okay, so we'll get up to 80 k's an hour now. At 80, you can hear it when I roll out of the throttle. Whines all the way through past 80 k's an hour. So it is definitely noticeable here. When we get onto the back straight here, I'll crank it up to 110 where you'll notice it the most. It isn't incredibly loud, but it gets really annoying when you're driving down the freeway on a quiet stretch road, and like now, all you hear is it just whining there for absolutely no reason. Especially, it's the most annoying when you know it doesn't happen in Raptors that don't have this issue. So here comes the back straight. We'll get it up to 110. This is where you notice it most. Yeah, not very impressed, pretty frustrated by it. So what I'm going to be doing is taking the Raptor to Ford and asking for them to explain what's wrong with the differential. Doesn't seem to affect performance. It still accelerates perfectly fine. It does everything perfectly fine, but it is uncharacteristic of what a normal Raptor should sound like. And I think there might be something defective there, whether it's just some insulation or something, I don't know. But certainly something I want fixed. So I'm going to take it to Ford and I'll give you an update on what they've discovered. Okay, so the time has come for me to drop the car in to the service department here. So yeah, like I said in the video, it's got the whine. You can see it's got a whine compared to the press car. I now have found another owner that has a whine as well. So I'll be curious to see what they do to fix it and how they can actually get around it. According to Ford, we've finally got a response with regards to the press car that had the whine. They basically did a forensic analysis on the differential that started developing noise when we had it in our big ute test. What they discovered was that they thought there was a side impact on one of the rear wheels at one point, which caused an issue internal to the differential. So I definitely haven't had a side impact. And I also don't let my wife drive the car, so it also rules her out. So yeah, look, I think that I'll be curious to see what they come up with, and hopefully they can sort the issue out. And when we do find out what the issue is, I'll report back and we'll see how we go. Hey, look, it's back. We've taken a break from filming the tennis ball so I can explain what's happened to it. Let's hop in and go for a quick spin and I'll run you through exactly what's been done to it. Okay, so we're in the car. Have a listen to this. No differential whine. It is completely gone, and that is because I have a brand new differential. The rear diff has been replaced, which is crazy. So there wasn't a fix for it. And according to the servicing documents that I got once the car was returned, they discovered there wasn't enough diff oil in there. And when they drained the diff oil that was in there, they found metal fragments, which suggested that there had been a failure at some point within the diff, which I find completely bizarre because, you know, this car was checked at the factory before it left. It was then checked during a pre-delivery process. How there wasn't enough diff oil is totally beyond me. It also doesn't follow the theme we had with the Ute for our mega test, because according to Ford, when they did a forensic examination on that diff, which took them 6 months to do, which is crazy, I just kept asking and asking for what had gone on here, they said that that had a side strike of some sort. So I definitely haven't anything like that. I mean, really haven't done anything in this car, and by the time I had the diff replaced, it was less than 4,000 Ks old. So pretty sort of disappointed that it came to having to have a differential replaced to fix that whining noise. At the same time, I also mentioned to them the rough idle, and they ended up tightening what it says in the service documents are powertrain mounts. I don't know what that is. I assume that's an engine mount. They weren't specific on that, so that rough idle is now gone as well, and it just feels perfectly normal. They also did 3 software recalls, so it's 6 software recalls in total now that I've had since I bought the car. So look, I am glad that the diff is replaced and that it's fixed this issue, but I am really shocked and surprised that the diff on a vehicle that's only several thousand Ks old actually needed to be replaced. Kind of understand it on a press car, because I don't know the history of press cars. I don't know how other people drive them, some terribly, but I know with my car, I really haven't done anything crazy at all. I mean, I've got my daughter's seat in the back, and I do highway driving and city driving, so it is pretty surprising that the diff had already failed on itself that early, and especially in a performance car. I mean, what is it, made of paper mache or something? I'm pretty surprised by that. So let me know in the comments section below. Do you drive a Raptor? Drive it at 50, 80 and 110, and just have a listen for that whine that you heard during our recording. It was really hard to capture that, but I think you can get the essence of that whine. Do you have an issue with your diff? If so, let me know in the comments section below. I mentioned earlier that I do know at least one other owner that has that issue with their differential, and I'm keen to know if anyone watching this has that same problem. I also just want to really quickly touch on the experience at the dealership. Look, the experience was fantastic. They looked after me really well. They gave me a hire car. They were really accommodating in terms of updates and just keeping me posted on how everything was going. What I didn't love though was booking the actual service in. I booked it online on the Ford's website, and I did this in April, right at the start of April, and the earliest date they could offer me was late May. As we got close to that late May booking, I got a call from the service department, and they said, "Oh, what's the problem?" And I said, "I've explained it all in the thing already." And they said, "Oh, well, you'll need to book a diagnosis." And the earliest diagnosis they could book was like the end of June. So it took me like 2 months to actually get it seen by a dealer. And I said on the phone, "Are you happy with me driving this?" And they said, "Yeah, it's fine to keep driving it until you get that booking." So I don't know if that made the matter worse or what, but yeah, it's back in action now. I did a few sort of hot laps here at the proving ground earlier, and everything feels perfectly normal and above board. So yeah, look, I'm disappointed, had to have the diff replaced. I just think that's crazy on a car that's so new and a car that really hasn't done a great deal of hard work. So yeah, let me know if you've had a similar experience in the comments section below. Now, what about our next video? What do you want to see on our ownership update with the Raptor? As I record this, I've done 5,300 Ks, so I've put a little bit more mileage on the vehicle, but let me know in the comments section below, what else do you want to see me talk about with this? I'm keen for your feedback. So thank you for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. But until next time, take it easy.